All right, we're back here on the Chasing West podcast, where I am now joined by the newest head football coach at Meadowcreek High School, a high school that I grew up maybe 5 minutes from me. Like it's really close. I don't think a lot of people realize just how close.
Right around the
Parkview
corner.
High School, it really is right around the corner. But hometown Lilburn, Georgia, Coach Todd Wofford's here. Coach, how are you doing, sir?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on.
What are you most excited about when it comes to taking over the Meadowcreek football program at this point?
Well, I mean, it's actually a couple of things. We actually I've been at Collins Hill the last 2 years, and we actually scrimmaged them this past fall, preseason scrimmage, and it's just ironic that I was just looking at the talent that I thought they had. Um, and they had a lot of length, they had a lot of size. Just ironic. So then, it came open, and again, I had the flashbacks. And it's coming off a state championship. Kind of having that head coaching itch again, and I kind of like to be in a situation where I can kind of develop talent and develop players and whatnot. And I thought it would be a great fit. I'm extremely excited about it since I've been here for these last couple months. That how the kids have responded to the different things, new schemes, new terminology, new culture, new mindset, and they've been responding really well. So I think the new guys on the staff that I'm bringing in, they're excited about it. We're all kind of daily, we do our after school workouts. I know I do. We walk away kind of impressed with the attitudes and everything else that we've seen, and how the guys have grown from the very first day till yesterday, as a matter of fact.
How hard was it to leave Collins Hill, especially coming off a state title win, and just the kind of dominance that you got to enjoy there at Collins Hill
It,
this past year?
it this past year was amazing. It was a great run. You know, you're gonna always carry a lot of those things and those traits that we built the last couple of years over there. Um, it's yeah, it's hard to repeat. That I've been on a part of some really good staff, some really good teams, and I compared it a lot to it was '09 Gainesville, when I was up there with Blake Sims and TJ Jones and AJ Johnson, and we were like loaded. But this was a whole new level of dominance where people don't realize, because if you didn't really follow us, we never lost anything from summertime. I've done we do it we did we always everybody does 7-on-7s. We never lost a game of 7-on-7 against anybody, and we played in like 4 tournaments. We had OTAs, different places. Never lost the OTA. The freshmen didn't lose, the JV didn't lose, and obviously we went 15-0 and varsity. So like I said, it was a really, really good run. And, like I said, as you go on, you get that itch, to go back and do your thing. So, it was difficult, but not at the same time. It was a huge senior class, because, it's kind of like, talking to Sam and Travis, they were going out at the same time. So, it was kind of like, the right time too, at the same time.
What can I do to get Sam to flip back to Tennessee? What can, as a Tennessee grad student here and Tennessee super fan, I gotta know what can we do there?
Well, hey, the biggest thing everybody's got to do is, sit back and watch the kid play baseball,
Mm-hmm.
because he is an amazing baseball player. He kind of injured his knee when we were out in Las Vegas playing in that game, and he just actually last week kind of got back started with baseball, and
Mm-hmm.
and he's a big time pitcher, but he is crunching it batting
Mm-hmm.
too. So that's what everybody needs to keep an eye on right there. But Sam's an incredible kid. He is a such a competitor. That's why it doesn't matter if it's football, baseball, if it was basketball, which he claims he would be the best, on the basketball court too. But
Mm-hmm.
he's just a competitor, and he was really fun to be around for the last couple of years.
What because you have a wide receiver background as well, like Travis Hunter, when you watch the film on Travis, it's just he's not playing the same game. Like it's not
Yeah.
fair. It was not fair watching him even in the state title game, and just he's so twitchy, he's so fast, he's so smart. Like he's so good at finding just these openings. You're just like, I don't understand how this guy is finding these little areas in zone coverage where he's open. Like he is somehow wide open, and then pulling him down in space where he's not a big dude at this point, but you get on the college meal plan and the just what he's going to be able to have at his disposal at Jackson State, and Deion's going to take care
Yeah.
of him on that front. I don't know, like what popped for you originally with him? Like, did you know that this kid's going to be special and the number one kid in his class?
Well, let me preface this by saying, like you said, I've coached a lot of, in my career, some of the best receivers that's ever played in the state of Georgia, and some of the best players. He is a combination of all of them, regardless of position, rolled into one kid. And I'd heard, when I first came over, I heard a lot about this kid, this Travis Hunter kid, and freaky athlete and all that kind of thing. And then when I actually put eyes on him, I said, no way. Not, his junior year, he was skinny. He, not that he swole all up, but he was really skinny. But then the first practice, I knew. I mean, he is like I said, a combination of all the great, the best players that I've coached, the best players I've seen. He, what separates him is how much film he watches. All right. That's the little things that people don't realize, that the things he does that's God given is off the charts. But a lot of times guys that have that type of talent, kind of relax and just, use that talent and, kind of lazy or whatnot, because they know they can turn it on, whatever. He studies film, again, like some of the best players I ever coached, like, again, AJ Johnson, still in the league right now with the Broncos. He used to study film right and left, more than any other kid. And then, but Travis probably watched it more than him. You can tell, and you got to put that in perspective too. He's watching it from two different points of view. He's watching from as a DB, and he's watching it as a receiver. So, most everybody else is watching it, for whatever their singular position is, and he's watching it going two ways. So he knew exactly what the other offense was doing, and he knew what the defense was trying to do against him. So, I mean, he's a rare breed of athlete, because again, he, started point guard on the basketball team. Anytime we did running and conditioning out there, we had some fast kids. Didn't matter who the fastest kid was supposed to be. If they went against Travis would, play with him for a while. And then before he got to the finish line, kick in this sixth gear that he has and win, because, he is a competitor. He didn't want to lose at anything. And in practice, he makes all these spectacular plays in the games that everybody goes crazy about. But I promise you, he made those kind of plays plus things you guys never saw at practice every day. And that's, being, an old school kind of guy. I'm big on, catch the ball with two hands and all this kind of stuff. And he broke me from harping on that, because he would practice all the one-handed catches. And at first I'm like, use two hands, all the things I've said over the years. But then he was making these catches. Again, it was the first game junior year, 2 years ago against Carrollton in the Corky Kale. He makes a one-handed catch across the middle that you had to watch back on, on Huddle on the film the next, day, just to appreciate how good a catch it was. And then I learned, hey, that's what he's doing at practice. So it's just like free throws in basketball. You practice it, and then when you get in the game, you expect to make it. So he's, making all these catches at practice, and it showed in the game, man. And it's, if he dropped one at practice, I quit, just harping on him, because he's practicing what he's going to do in the game, and he made them all in the game. And it's like I said, he's just a freak athlete.
How was that to coach, though, when you have because football is very different than basketball, and it's so much more of a team game. And people like to harp on the quarterback and like to harp in wins and losses on how a quarterback played. And generally speaking, that's not the case for how a lot of games go, is what happened with the quarterback. But with Travis, you don't see this kind of superstar like this, his size at this level, and just the way he plays. Like, there's just not many guys like that who pop and just are this special type of all-purpose guy, especially in Georgia. But was that hard? Did that make it harder to coach? Was it easier to coach? Was it one of those things where it's like, we gotta adjust our scheme a little bit, because he just does stuff that, like, we're we have to figure this out. We have to unlock what he is athletically, because he's just kind of a freak of nature with our team, and we have to maximize this.
What he did, I mean, it's just, it takes, it does take a little bit of different style of coaching, but
Mm-hmm.
what we do offensively, you know, he's like the cheat code for unlocking the offense, because everything I've ever done, going back to the Gainesville days, was trying to find matchups to exploit on the defense, and Travis can exploit any defense in any matchup. So he was, the challenge was trying to figure out how to more so get everybody else going, because he was always going to have the matchup. Now you got teams that were double teaming, which means now the matchup is finding one of the other guys matched up against a lesser guy and exploiting that. So this past year, even though he was hurt for over a month, he still he had 87 catches. Ethan Davis had 70 something catches. Cam Pedro had 60 something catches. So it spread all out, because and even the year before we had, at 137 something catches, but the next guy had 60 or 72. So, he's going to always, 99% of the time win his matchup. But when they're putting 2 and 3 guys on him, we had other guys that could really, really hurt you. So it's, it was fun game planning, because again, it was, you're always in attack mode, but with him and the other weapons that we did have, it was like, pick your poison on how you really want to hurt a defense.
What when his decision, he obviously shocked a lot of folks by not going to Florida State and going to Jackson State the last moment. Did that surprise you at all that he made that call?
It surprised me a lot,
Okay.
because I mean, really, he didn't tell any of us, because I actually had
Mm-hmm.
called him, texted him the night before,
Mm-hmm.
asked him if he needed anything for the next day. Was he good? Sign a day, and he texted back, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm just going to wake up." And he said, I'm just going to wake up and sign." And I'm thinking, all right, cool. All right, now
Mm-hmm.
I'm in class at this time, the next signing day, and some people, as soon as they wake up, like you said he's going to do, they sign it, send it in, and the school has it. So it's 9 o'clock. I get a text from Florida State, hey, we hadn't got anything yet. Have you heard from him? I was like, no, but he was, his school day didn't start till like 10ish, because he did online stuff, and he was, because he was graduating early. 10 o'clock. Hey, have you heard from him? And I'm like, no. And then I'm starting to wonder what's going on too.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and when he's going to do it. And I was like, well, he usually gets here around this time, so he should be here in a little bit. And then these recruiting sites started hitting me up. Hey, what's going on? There's a rumor, he's going to, Jack State. He's going to Georgia. He's going to all these places. I was like, look, just relax. He's not here yet. But at the same time, in the back of my mind, I'm like, this is, it's funny to me, because I'm like, all these adults are going crazy about this kid
Mm-hmm.
right now. And I honestly do not know, what's going on. So, when it comes around to that time, he comes in there, and I'm like, everybody's going berserk, and the internet's going crazy about, the possibility of him going to Dion or Georgia, and everybody, at that point, I'm thinking that he's not going to Florida State, because he would have picked them out the gate. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking maybe it's Georgia. Um, and then when he pulled the hat and said everything, I really crack up, because I'm like, this kid has no idea what he just did, the impact
Mm-hmm.
that he made for future athletes, for little kids or whatever, because to be such a high profile, athlete, and to pick a HBCU, he kind of makes it where, you know, it's cool.
Mm-hmm.
You can actually, the thing is where, over the years, I've always told any kid that played for me, you go where you feel comfortable, because, your parents are not going to be there for 4 or 5 years. Your buddies are not going to be there for 4 or 5 years. Wherever you feel comfortable, you know, that's where you go. And I mean, that's what he did.
Do you think that will, like you said, he may not have known what kind of long term just changes to the recruiting structure he might have just set in motion? Do you think that will be something? Because that is a really cool thing, and something that just we haven't seen before for the most part, and that could be cool. I mean, you just saw Grambling with Hugh Jackson. You have Dion staying at Jackson State because people
Eddie
are
George is at Tennessee
Tennessee
State.
State. Yeah. It seems like this is kind of where it's going, and it's going in a really cool, positive direction. Do you think we'll start to see more of those? And that's something that you expect coaching in the future of like, hey, you're gonna have more kids ask you like, oh, kid, this is cool. Like we can do this. What do you think of this? Should I do this? Do you think that's going to start popping up more?
I think it'll become more of an option. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if it'll be like a landslide of all the top players or do anything like that, but I think it'll be an option for them because I was out in San Antonio doing the Adidas All American game when the 4-star receiver committed to Jack State
Mm-hmm.
Will Trap, and I'm like, and I'm cracking up again because then all those players where I'm on there with all these All Americans, they're talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think what we'll really see is what happens next is, what happens with Travis in
Mm-hmm.
3 years. All
Yeah.
right. So if Travis goes out there and balls and is like, and it is a first round pick or something like that in the NFL draft, really high or something like that, then I think that's when it'll actually really, really um, change, the landscape because not only does would it seem like a fade or a fad or something like that, the fact that he would get to the exact same place that he would have gone to if it was Georgia or Florida or State or something like that. That's when I think it would be more of a legit option for some guys. I think it might be kind of cool right now because Travis Hunter did it, but
Mm-hmm.
if he goes there and still ends up being at the place where he would have been at one of those traditional powers, then I don't see why anybody wouldn't, use it as an option. Again, you're still going to have you guys that'll go to where they grew up loving, uh,
Mm-hmm.
but then you just see that, somebody else might go on a, like I said, a recruiting trip and fall in love with, whatever school it is and say, this is where I feel at home.
It's hard to say no to Dion. I might
Yeah.
just sign on with Dion if I go on
Yeah.
a
That's the
recruiting
thing
trip.
is, how long will Dion be there? That's, he's signing guy in no disrespect, but he's signed with between Travis and that big time receiver. He signed more 4 and 5 stars in a lot of Power 5 schools, by himself.
I said at the time where I was like, if I was TCU, I would have open checkbook. Like when that job opened up with Gary Patterson, I'm like, this is your chance. Like you're in Dallas, you're in Fort Worth, just whatever Dion wants. Like whatever Dion wants, just bring him in because I think TCU could be a sleeping giant on that front, and I actually think he fits a lot of blocks for TCU, and they're getting ready to. I mean, the Big 12 going through a lot of changes with Texas
Yeah.
and Oklahoma leaving. Like there was an opening, and I think they just went the safe route and kind of a boring route with Sonny Dykes. He'll be fine. I just don't think it's I don't think it's one that just how can I phrase this? I don't think it's one that's gonna change the long-term trajectory of TCU football. I think it'll be
Yeah.
good, but not the Deion Sanders is going to be a home run swing by a bigger program at
Yes.
some point. But from the folks I've talked to and that know Deion pretty well and know what he does in that community, he cares. And Deion's done a lot of stuff for that community and that university that I don't know if it's a sure thing that he leaves anytime soon. He
No.
really has invested heavily. And I mean, if you commit to
I,
Travis Hunter
I,
and these
I was about to
kids,
say, I
yeah,
think he, it's probably understood that if he did go somewhere, he would wait till after Travis,
yep,
left, because I don't think he would go through all the effort to get him there to leave him there,
right.
so to speak.
Well, so you've been at Collins Hill the last 2 years, and now you're at Meadowcreek. You coached before that, obviously, for a long time as well. You're very familiar with the Gwinnett County area. For folks that don't know, outside of the state of Georgia, Gwinnett is just a gigantic county. Gwinnett is gigantic, and it's just been the powerhouse of high school football in the state for my entire life. Even though I'm out of Knoxville, I'm still watching games and stuff like that and checking in. But what do you think what have you learned the most from the last 2 years not in that head role to prepare you for this role with Meadowcreek?
Well, prior to Collins Hill, I was a head coach at Central for
Yep.
10 years, and then I think it was kind of refreshing to take 2 years to get back, on the grass, so to speak, to, get my hands dirty back, grinding as a position coach and, doing the offensive things and um, without all the headache of the, dealing with, you know, boosters and parents and all that kind of stuff. So it kind of recharged my battery because again, this is, I think this fall will be year 26 or 27 or something like that. So it's been a
Wow.
while. It's been a while. So again, it kind of gave me another kickstart. That's why I say, I have so much juice for here right now in Meadowcreek because, we got I think some hungry kids. We've got, a lot of, we've got some really talented kids too. We've got, I think it's 5 kids right now with multiple Power 5 offers,
Hmm.
uh, ready to unleash them on Gwinnett County and shock everybody.
Mostly offense or defense?
Actually split. Actually,
Okay.
mostly defense. Mostly defense. I mean, actually, it's split. It's two receivers, a defensive end, D tackle, and a linebacker,
Okay.
and a corner. Yeah. So I mean,
Very
it's
cool.
it's a mix, but it's a lot of talent. I don't want to say too much. I want to unleash it at the right time, but.
Mm.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. But it's those last 2 years, you get back in the mix, and to have the success that we did, I think the biggest thing, and I tell people all the time, is that we had a really really good staff, and the best thing that we did was our halftime adjustments. For 2 years, and people don't think about things. You think about X's and O's and offense and defense, but that halftime is when you actually make your counter. To me, in calling plays offensively, you call things to set up other things. Some people just call plays and they see what I see something and call a play. You know, to me, I think of it more like it's chess, and you
Mm-hmm.
set up moves to set up other moves. So, the things that I might show, on in the first half, third quarter is going to be different, and we'll close out with something in the fourth. So the halftime adjustments that we made, especially this past year, were so spot on that obviously, as you saw, a lot of games wasn't close, and so I think that's such an underrated part of football in general. Your halftime, having a great staff and making the best halftime adjustments you can make.
Do you think you would enjoy being the CEO type of coach? Doesn't sound like it.
Yeah, because I mean, you get to. I mean, I'm not. I don't like being the micromanager at all.
You like
Uh,
scheme, man. You're an X's and
but
O's guy. You like that.
I'm a X and O kind of guy. I mean, sometimes some of the guys that I've known, coach with over the years on my staff, they say I'll have a Rain Man moment where I kind of draw up things in the air and just come up
Mm-hmm.
with things like that. And if you watch us play over, whether it's Collins Hill, where we did on offense, or the Central, or even back in Gainesville days, it's kind of not your traditional offense. And everybody says they run a spread system or whatnot, but it's a little more different than what a lot of people are willing to do.
Yeah, people just throw spread around. Spread is just, it doesn't actually mean
Yeah,
anything.
I
It
love it.
does.
I love it because they can say it all day. It's not the you know quote unquote system.
Yeah.
Because things that I've done over the years is you could see that a lot of those same concepts and patterns on Saturdays, whether you're watching Texas Tech or Alabama these days, and that's the thing that I always say to people now, especially the old school guys, and even though 26 years or whatever, if Nick Saban can change,
Yeah.
what's your excuse?
Yeah.
Saban, Alabama was always, ground and pound, and we're going to run the ball 40, 50 times and make you feel it. It's evolution. Things are
Mm-hmm.
different. You got these guys that are, a lot of guys that, would be in the old days playing basketball, playing football now.
Yeah.
And you spread everybody out, or you got some small, quick guys, depending on what you have, and you just find the mismatch. Those
Look at the
big,
linebackers from
I was like,
2003 versus now. Like
that's what I
linebackers
was
are
about to
just
say.
safeties. Yeah.
Those big, huge linebackers that Saban used to use could not be on
Mm-hmm.
the field today.
No.
Could not be on the field because they'd be too big and too slow.
It's like basketball with just bigs. Like unless you have to be a Joel Embiid type where you have to be so skilled offensively that it makes sense to have a high usage center. Like the Shaqs of the world are not gonna exist. You play
Ex-
too
ex-
fast.
exactly.
But yeah, I think it's so interesting, especially with you. And this is what I like talking to offensive minded coaches so much, is that high school football and just football as a whole has changed so much over the last 20 years. But how has that changed how you have to? Because high school coaching is different, where you have to do so much based on the personnel that you have, and you get new guys all the time, and you have no idea who's moving to your area. There's no like, obviously, I guess I won't go into that, but
Yeah, don't
by
say
and
that word.
large, yeah, by and large, you have no control over who's moving into your area and what kids are coming up and all that kind of stuff. So if you are someone that has an ardent scheme, structure, and offensive philosophy, I think that makes it hard now to be successful over the long term as a high school coach and a long term successful coach, because so much of what you have to do, you have to adapt. Because one year you might just have a kid who literally he can't be an RPO guy. Like he just can't. And you're like, I'm an RPO coach and I need him to be able to read and react and things like that. And you're like, that's just not who he is. And he gives you the best chance to win. So you have to evolve. Has that made it hard for you over the years to change with the times and change with personnel?
Well, I think, in my opinion, I think what I do offensively, this system itself adapts to the personnel.
Mm-hmm.
um, because Sam Horn is nothing like Jaron Williams, who was nothing like Blake Sims, and who was nothing like a kid I had when I first got to Central, Emmanuel Westmore,
Mm-hmm.
who was the number 2 passer in Gwinnett County history, who was, again, you look at him, he was a 5'10", 185-pound kid, 5'10", 185. Sam 6'4", 190.
Mm-hmm.
Sharon Williams is 6'2", 210, and Blake was 6 foot, 185. So, you got the runners, you got the drop backs, you got, you just adapt to it. And I think that's kind of where, things are these days, is that, the guys that might say, well, I run this and I'm just going to run this, that's that might get you in trouble, because like you said, what if the kid can't do that?
Mm-hmm.
So what you have to do is adapt and figure out how the kids can adapt to what you want them to do, and then you just got to emphasize what they do best. Because you do have some people that might just be stubborn and hard headed and say, I'm going to make them run my system, where your system might not fit the personnel, and then you really have to adjust later on. But it might be, it could be too late. Then you have to start over, like maybe in the middle of the season or something like that.
Yeah, it's not good. That's not the situation you want to be in. I have to ask you, because everything this week is about the combine and about small hands with the quarterback position, and Kenny Pickett obviously wearing gloves to go get. Can you explain, like, because I haven't really gotten a great read on this and gotten a great, like, people have differing opinions on this. What can you tell me as a football expert and offensive expert, and really just a quarterback expert, coach, like how much does that actually matter in terms of whether or not a quarterback is going to be successful, his hand size? How much does it really matter? And what do the gloves and what does hand size really do for a quarterback?
Well, I mean, to me, again, it's just my opinion, but it's just like a pitcher in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll use like one of my favorites, the guy played with the Red Sox, Pedro Martinez, one
Mm-hmm.
of the best, Hall of Fame, one of the best pitchers ever. He was a small guy, but his hands were huge and his fingers were like really long, so he had an extra whip when he was
Mm-hmm.
throwing the ball, which he was 5'10", 160 pounds, but he could throw it 97 miles an hour, or he could hit 100
Yeah.
because of hand size. So I think it gives you a better grip if you have a bigger hand. So I mean, if you look at some of the all-time greats like Troy Aikman and Aaron Rodgers, huge hands that could, you can just kind of maneuver the ball regardless of conditions and still get it off. Now, if you do have smaller hands, and what the NFL experts kind of say is that those are the ones who have fumbling issues,
Huh.
because you're going to get hit at some point, so the ball will pop out, or when you take one hand off of the ball, just some of those guys can get sacked and still have the ball in one hand if they have those paws, and if you
Mm-hmm.
don't, it just creates more probably turnover tendencies.
Are you going to teach under center stuff? Are you going to teach
Oh
any
yeah, yeah. I
okay.
mean, that'll be that's a curveball kind of package. That you still have to have at least a package of some kind of
Mm.
power, power sets to get the short yardage if you want to do that, something on the goal line. But where it really comes in handy is like when you're trying to close out a game,
Mm-hmm.
because you're high tempo, high tempo, high tempo. If you have a 14, 17, 10-point lead, late in the fourth, you don't want to stay fast. You want to slow it down so then you can get under center and kind of then you can go old school and just and pound somebody else at that point.
What personnel are you most excited about using with Meadowcreek?
But what the personnel looking like here, probably some 10.
Mm-hmm.
But it's some big body kids here too. So,
Mm-hmm.
10, 11 personnel, something like that. I can, I never really had, except for a couple times in my career, like legit true tight ends, but
Yeah.
it's tight end type bodies here. And,
Huh.
and so, like I said, I won't say a whole lot, but
Can they
um,
catch? Can
got
they
a,
run routes?
got a lot of different options.
Okay. Can you say who you're most excited about? Can you say who
But
based on what you've
player
seen?
wise,
Yeah, player wise.
there honestly is a few.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, the kid Champ Thompson I think he's going to end up being a national kid. He's already got like 16 Power Five offers. He's just a sophomore.
It's also a
Um,
great name. That's a great
I know,
football
yeah.
Georgia name, Champ Thompson.
Champ Thompson. His dad played O line for the Falcons
Huh.
back in the day, back in the Vic days.
Wait,
Um,
what was his dad's name? Champ Thompson. What's his dad's name?
Chris Thompson.
Chris Thompson. Okay. Interesting. Small world.
Yeah, yeah, and then you have Javon Bailey, who's a corner that
Uh-huh.
he has multiple offers. I mean, it's one kid is a big body receiver. Keyshawn Singleton, he has several. He reminds me of a kid I had at Central, Dejon Reynolds, that's actually a freshman at Florida right now. He was
Mm-hmm.
also a big body kid like that. Um, and then we have it's a burner type receiver, Andre Craig. He has Maryland offer and all kind of. He's that take the top off guy, but
Mm-hmm.
he's 180 pounds. He's a muscled up kind of kid. So, excited to see all those guys. And there's some kids that don't have offers yet that I think by the end of spring practice will have a few.
Well, let's end with this. So you got spring practice coming up. You've got this. You're already thinking ahead of like how you're going to approach the season. What are you most excited about this spring, and what are you looking for? And then, what are your like for you? Not what outside expectations are, but like what kind of expectations have you set for yourself in year one at Meadow Creek?
You know, One thing that I told it's actually Tony Jones Jr. He's coming with me from Collins Hill, and he's a younger coach, and we're doing these the after school workouts and everything, and I try to mentor and the younger coaches that I do have, and I was like, this is the thing, and that's why I say I get so excited that I said, you know, point A is where we started a couple of weeks ago. These workouts,
Mm-hmm.
knowing their baseline, how strong they are, different techniques, and all that. I said when we get to the end of July, early August, before we play that first game, see where they are then. I said that's what I get excited about, looking from point A to point B. I'm excited about going out to the first practice of spring just to be back out there, in this role, seeing these guys because like they're excited, just because it's a fresh new, you know, everything to them. So
Mm-hmm.
they're fired up just to see their excitement. Um, and just installing everything. Like I said, that's what I get. The kind of the joy out of that is, you know, the strategy and seeing how quick they can pick up everything, watching them go because I know they've never gone at the pace that we're going to go before, and just seeing, watching them because it was, 2 years ago at Collins Hill they went through the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
We're in that summer, that spring, it was COVID and all that kind of stuff, but teaching those guys how to play faster than they think is legal.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it rolls out there and you do it against a team and they're blowing 2 timeouts on the first drive, the kids go crazy because everything that you teach them that first day of spring practice way back when comes true in the fall, and that's when they really really buy in.
I like it. I like it. I always end on this. I wanna get your perspective. So I know coaching during the fall, you don't have time. Like there's just time is just out the window. Like you got enough on your plate. But in the off season, what do you like to read? What do you like to get into, Coach?
Well, it's a couple things. And again, COVID
Mm-hmm.
kind of threw all that stuff off the last couple of years. But I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I like to still go to the gym and lift.
Okay.
Um, I got my kids do AAU basketball and club soccer and that kind of stuff, and just to sit back and try to be a fan for a little bit instead of coaching, so I can yell at coaches for a change. Um, and honestly, other than that, just sitting down and not doing anything. That's the best. Just to chill out is the best.
I like it. I like it. Well, Coach, good luck to you. Except when you play Parkview this fall, can't do that. I can't. I can't do that, unfortunately. But outside of that, I think Meadow Creek's in good hands, and I'm excited to see what you've got cooking down there back home in Lilburn. So good luck to you, sir. We'll have to check back in before the season.
Absolutely, that'd be great. That'd be great.
All
Thanks
right.
a lot.
Thanks.